to learn how to renovate an entire home by watching just one episode? Well, that's what we're going to do today on Sweet Tea Hospitality. You don't want to miss it. Welcome to Sweet Tea Hospitality. I'm Karen Conrad. Thank you so much for joining us today. In this episode, we're going to recap and review all the steps of the project of the Coastal Cottage. So if you saw those series, this is going to be a great reminder for you. If you haven't seen them yet, you'll be able to get a great idea of how we completely renovated a home in Central Texas from an old 1960s rambler or ranch into the Coastal Cottage. And it started with the exterior. Okay, so at the front of the house, you might notice here that we have got some bushes and shrubs, which initially we really thought were going to work out. But as we looked at it further, my amazing husband Dave suggested that we consider removing them. And after he said that and we started to look at it, we realized, yes, these need to come out because the porch is a really beautiful feature of this home. But because these hedges are so high, they're actually blocking the porch. And I think that was one of the issues with the curb appeal of this house. There's some subconscious things that happen with a property. And one of them is when you walk up to a house, and we actually did this at our house, we had the same thing that was occurring. When there's a wall of shrubs that are sort of overgrown, it can make your inside of the house dark and you don't even realize it, but it sort of puts up this wall when people walk up to your front door that says, you're not welcome here. So we pulled those shrubs out and then we assessed what we wanted to do with landscaping. We decided to pull out all the old shrubs around the house because we looked at it and it wasn't that expensive to put down some Home Depot edging around the property. We used a nice brown mulch. I love that because it makes it look really natural. And we purchased small plants and planted them around the property. It cleaned everything up. It made it look really welcome. And when you have new landscaping, you know that your house actually looks like a new house. So that might be something for you to consider for your property as well. Hey Levi, thanks for picking up.
You bet. What's going on?
Okay, so I got a call from Melchor and he's at the property. And who's the guy that did the fence? Jerry. Okay, he didn't finish it, Levi. Like he stopped short and like I can still see all the junk on the end.
I just kind of assumed that he would end it all the way by the neighbor's fence. I did pay his invoice, which could be a little problematic. And he sent me pictures, but I guess the very end was cropped out. That doesn't sound good.
Well, something that Melchor said is that apparently, is there an easement back there?
There is a utility easement.
Okay.
It's a small town Texas utility easement. If Jerry's arguing that he can't keep going, literally every other house on the block has their fence go all the way.
Okay.
So that's just not gonna hold up, I think, for him. That fence should go all the way.
I guess if the original agreement was just to go as far as he did, of course we want to work with them on that. But if the original agreement was to go all the way to the end, then we probably need to talk to him about that. Hey, Levi, can you give him a call? I mean, it is probably something like that he just wanted to make sure he's doing the right thing. And if that's the problem, just tell him that Melchor said that it's okay, like everybody does it, just like you said. Can you take care of that for me today?
Yeah, I'll call Jerry right now.
Okay, Levi, thank you so much. All right, I love you.
Love you too, Mom.
Talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
You just got to see how the exterior of this property gave me a few gray hairs. I'm telling you, we hit some challenges. And the next thing we had to take a look at is the floor plan. It was not functional. I don't think I've ever seen so many doors in a house. So we had to really figure out how we were going to reimagine this floor plan. So as you can see behind me, we've got a beautiful fireplace in family room, but you couldn't see it with the walls as they were. They were all sheetrocked where you now see the studs. So the first thing we knew we had to do is figure out how to open up this whole entire space. So we have done the demo on the wall between the living room and the family room and kitchen. And what we need to do is just figure out what we can do here. I'm not sure if we're able to do a beam all the way across, or if we're gonna have to maybe do some cutouts or openings or even some columns. But what we're hoping for is that we can do a beam up in the attic all the way across and just make this one really beautiful open space. So we're standing right now in really the entrance of the property, which was really where those walls were, and we wanted to give it an open look, but we had to determine how much we were going to do and how we were going to open it up. So the first thing I thought is like, hey, let's remove all these walls and just open everything up. But unfortunately, what it would have taken to have to do a metal beam from spanning from this side of the house all the way over was cost prohibitive.
Totally. I think in what we ended up doing, we were able to get 80% of the openness for 20% of the price.
Yeah, I think you're right. And so what we did is we kept the doorway in the entryway and just removed the actual door. And the other thing is we had electrical that was moving up and down these walls. Now the good news was they were isolated, and we kept those flowing in the pillars that we left in place. And Levi, really looking at it, I feel that this look to me is almost better than if we would have pulled everything out and spent the money to move all that. I don't think we would have brought the value.
Especially because we have 3 different living areas essentially within the same, like within the line of sight. Well, 4 if you count the entryway. So the pillars give a little bit of definition to where, you know, you have sort of defined rooms, but yet you can see everything at one time.
After we got the floor plan taken care of and we opened up things a little bit, boy, I'm telling you, you could see that orange fireplace that we called the pumpkin clear from the front door. And it was time for us to figure out how we were going to handle this biggest design portion of the entire property. Dave, when we first got this fireplace was bright orange.
Yes. And it was in your face when you came through the door.
It was.
It's the first thing you saw.
Yes.
And even if you walked around it, you kept seeing it.
It's
Like
true, because it goes into the kitchen.
You couldn't get away from the big orange fireplace.
Yeah.
It was everywhere.
It was everywhere. And, you know, when I spend time in a property, like Dave's used to this, but I'll think, oh, we're going to do this. And then the next day or even an hour later, no, we're going to do this. So I went everywhere from, we're going to paint it so that you don't see any color of the brick. Then I'm like, well, maybe we should whitewash it where it cuts some of the brick.
Mm-hmm.
And then I even went to, let's leave the brick as it is. And we actually ended up, I think, with the best decision. And it is called smearing.
The smear.
Yes. So Dave, help explain what it is to smear. Give people a little insight into
Okay.
that.
Well, think about smear like you're putting your favorite topping on your bagel. You smear it on there.
Yes.
Essentially, it's like a stucco type element that you smear it onto the brick. And you can see that it goes over top of the brick. It cuts down the orange. And one of the things you have to keep in mind is it looks different in certain spots, but you have to take it all in together. So for example, you may see a spot where it looks brighter, but you can tone it down with just a wet sponge. And even here you can see across the top that there's no smear, and on this side there is smear. That's okay. The difference in the look, you take it all in and you step back and it just looks like it works and it does very well. But if there's an area where you feel like it's too heavy, again, you just take a little sponge and you wipe it down and you can lighten it up. So it's a great look. And the color
Yes.
is a little bit different than the alabaster, but complementary.
Yeah, exactly. And it, you know, because we're trying to really honor the home. I mean, it was a well-built home. We weren't trying to make it look completely like a new build, because part of doing a renovation like this is there's character. And so the smear is new, but it looks old. It looks like it's always been here. So we're really happy with that decision. The next big decision we had to make is what to do with the paneling. And so the paneling was throughout this entire room, and we kind of went back and forth on that too. Do we do sheetrock? Do we leave the paneling? And we left the paneling.
Yes, and the paneling is like a shiplap look.
Yes.
And the paneling, if you think about it, has little gaps usually where they put it together. So a little bit of caulking down.
Yes, Dave's really good at finding
that.
those things. I'm just looking at the color, and he's like, oh, we have some gaps there. And so you made it so beautiful.
And then painting it. So it gives it like a vertical look, as you can see around the room. And yeah, it also looks good with the new texture that you did.
Yes.
With on the pillars and the wall with repose. It all works together.
Well, you got to see all the things that we went through to really make that fireplace that started out looking really orange and very dated into something that was beautiful, yet maintained the character of the home. Well, we had another problem around the corner, and that was how to create a master suite. We're still talking through our options here. We've got several people that we've had come to the house to kind of help us think this through. But we definitely want this master bathroom to have a shower and a bathtub, and to have 2 vanities or at least 2 sinks on the vanity. The space in this bathroom is oddly large and empty. And so there's plenty of room for us to either add another vanity in, or what we're thinking about doing is opening up this closet and adding a stand-up shower in this space, but we'd have to move the water heater, and then leaving the bathtub in the place that it's at with a glass separation there. This would make it really feel like a nice master bathroom. And then adding a vanity on this side, updating the vanity on this side so that there's plenty of space for two people to be able to function in here and get ready in the morning. Definitely a lot of problems to be solved with that master suite. The big thing was making the decision to actually move it across the hall to the other part of the house. In that, we had to close the door off that was going into the hallway for that master bathroom. One of the things we ran into that I really didn't expect is that the beadboard that was in the existing hallway was interrupted from the door, and we had to figure out how we were going to make that tie in so that when people looked down the hallway, they couldn't tell that we had actually filled in a door space. And so our general contractor came up with something that I think was absolutely genius. It was paneling that was the beadboard, and it was very difficult. We couldn't match the paneling, and so we had seams. So what he did is he figured out where those seams were, and he put a strip of wood over that, and then the next seam from the door, a strip of wood over that, and he continued with those wood strips on the whole hallway. So do you know what? It was a problem, and he made it a solution that provided a better look for that hallway with more interest than before. Now that is turning a design blunder into something that's very, very positive. Now, that master bathroom was definitely ugly, definitely awkward, and one of the things that we noticed is that the wall coming out was cutting off too much of the bathroom. So instead of going through the expense of completely removing that wall between the vanity and the toilet, we just cut it back a few feet. It completely opened it up. And on the other side of that, for very little expense, we had some custom shelves built in a brown wood to complement the color scheme and bring some of that deepness into the tones on the wall by the toilet. We also brought in a beautiful black light fixture. I love to bring elegance into a bathroom. And then I chose black mirrors and black light fixtures to tie it in to the rest of the house. The master bedroom itself from that point was very easy. We simply painted the walls the repose gray. We already had the new windows, and we brought in some nice new carpet that really brought this whole master suite together. So if you're a homeowner and you want to create a space that is all coordinated and really makes you feel like you're resting and peaceful, use these tips to bring it all together in a coordinated color scheme, and without spending a lot of money, you will have a brand new master suite. I hope you enjoyed seeing how we created a master suite. Do you know that was one of the biggest challenges we had, but really the most satisfying. To move it across the hall and close some walls really made a big difference. The next thing that we had to tackle was a very dated kitchen. So we're coming in the kitchen to give you an idea of when you walk into the house, how the flow of the house goes, and also to show you that this fireplace is a huge part of the kitchen as well, which is actually a beautiful element. But with the orange of the brick, it was a little tricky to kind of make some decisions for everything to come together. So as we were deciding on the floor, it was really important that we pick out flooring that really kind of cut the orange and went well with the rest of the home. And with the repose gray in a lot of the walls and then alabaster on other parts, we wanted to make sure it wasn't too cool. And that's why we landed on Memphis Light, which is from Home Depot. It's a laminate floor, and it looks great coming up to both the gray repose gray paint and also with the orangey brick. Also over here, this was a big decision because we had paneling here, which we chose to keep on the back of the cabinet, and we painted it in the color alabaster. But we had this range hood that came down and was blocking the view in the kitchen. And it left us with kind of a little awkward stair step here. So I'm always thinking like that's a little bit of what I would call a design blunder. So what can I do to actually make that blunder look like we did it on purpose? And the idea came, and I think it worked really well, is to add two lamppost lights. They're really in right now. It went with the character of the Coastal Cottage, and so I added those at the top, and it really draws your eye when you come in to those, and it kind of takes the attention away from the stepping of the cabinets. In addition, there's this very cute dinette space, and I wanted it open enough. So the wall behind it we removed that, and I knew I didn't have a space for a huge table, but I wanted to make a big impact. So what I did is I got this substantial light fixture that actually, if you look at the curves, goes with the curves in the cabinets. So I thought that was a little design element a lot of people might not catch at a conscious level, but would be there for them at a subconscious level. Levi, how are you today?
I'm doing great, other than one small issue that we've got at the house.
Oh, wow. Okay, what's going on?
Well, it wasn't until the fresh paint went on the house that I realized that we really need to address the saggy gutters we've got. There's so much dirt in there that there's actually weeds sprouting out of the top. And it looks like one of those plant roofs that you see in urban areas.
We have saggy gutters. Oh my gosh. Hey, we don't have it in the budget to replace those gutters. So like what can we do?
Well, I was talking to Miguel, and although it's not going to be like totally perfect, I think if we replace all the clips, which isn't that expensive, on the inside of the gutters, it should prop them back up to where they're close to 90 degrees. It might not look like new gutters,
okay,
but it'll be really close and it won't be noticeable.
How much is that?
Well, the clips are only like, I don't know, like $1 or $2 a piece. I actually haven't checked, but they're pretty cheap, and I think we can get away with like less than $100 plus labor. For Miguel to do that, he said he could do it in an hour or two.
Okay, I think that is a good way to go. I mean, if Miguel thinks that he can get it taken care of, and it's $1 a clip, oh my goodness, it's so worth a try. Levi, will you give Miguel a call and just let him know to go ahead with that?
I will, yeah, I'll let him know. And we should be able to get it done this afternoon, which will be great.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, love you, Levi.
Love you too, Mom. Have a great day.
Renovating the kitchen was a really big project, but I was so happy that we figured out how to do it without spending tens of thousands of dollars. One of the most unique and special parts to me of Sweet Tea Hospitality is the time we take in each episode to talk about the Lord and how we bring Him into our design. So here is one of my favorite parts of Sweet Tea Hospitality during the Coastal Cottage renovation. I spent hours walking through this house. I had some big decisions that I had to make. We are talking about moving walls here. We are talking about moving rooms. And I just know that God is the one that knows the answer. And while this was an architectural project, how much more can we see God in our homes, about our families, our next steps, what to do for holidays, maybe something that our children are going through. And God wants to provide for us all the wisdom and the knowledge that we need, and how to create that home of peace, how to bless the people that are coming over to our homes for a holiday or for a ministry event. So God gave Solomon some architectural wisdom that we can apply again by hearing his voice. And this really makes sense for moving walls, for the practical parts of the home, but also for the hearts that are touched in our homes. And we inquire of the Lord. Sometimes we need to inquire with outside resources that have the knowledge in different areas. And we apply those in a creative way. Listen to this. This is Proverbs 24, 3 and 4, and I'm going to read it from the ESV. It says, "By wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established. By knowledge the rooms are filled with all precious and pleasant riches." Isn't that beautiful? I want my home to be a pleasant riches for the people that enter it. I want it to be that place that people walk into and they feel the presence and peace of God. Now, architectural wisdom is like a 30,000 foot view, right? We want to know what things look like, which is what I was trying to accomplish in the big picture in deciding what we are going to do with the floor plan. So God often gives us the big picture, and then it involves others to actually get the details, the knowledge, and the plan. What's the result? You're creating memories. You're creating a peaceful setting, the precious things of our homes, which are the hearts. I hope you've enjoyed this power-packed episode on the Coastal Cottage, where we reviewed the entire renovation project in just one episode. If you'd like the entire series along with our renovation plan, go to sweettea.tv, or you can watch the episodes one at a time at liftable.tv. We also have a brand new project out called the Beachside Bungalow from Cocoa Beach, Florida. So you can check that out at sweettea.tv. I'm Karen Conrad. Thank you for joining me today on Sweet Tea Hospitality, and we'll see you next time.